Welcome to EnVision Center News. Today's episode is all about Volunteer Connect with Executive Board Member Becca Orchard and Resource Specialist Sarah Hensel. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to EnVision Center News. My name is Sarah Hensel, and I am the Lead Resource Specialist and Volunteer Connect Coordinator for the Community Resource EnVision Center. And I have with me a very special guest, Becca Orchard. She helped basically cultivate and catapult the Volunteer Connect program, and she not only gives our time to us as one of our executive board members, but she also is president of 101 Women. So welcome, Becca. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you, Sarah.
So if you would kind of tell us a little about your involvement with the Community Resource EnVision Center, maybe how long you've been a board member. I know you've been a very valuable asset to us, and you've given us a lot of your time and talents.
Yes, I got involved with the Resource Center in December of 2013.
Okay.
I was invited to a board meeting at the time by one of the board members who recognized that the organization was kind of floundering a little bit in terms of trying to achieve what it was set out to do. And my background is in organization development and leadership development. And so I basically came to kind of see what was going on and if I could help. And it turned out, yes, I could help. And one of the first things I observed was that they needed a strategic plan.
Okay.
And so I offered to guide them through that process. And at the end of the 6 months that it took to develop that, it became apparent that they needed someone to actually do some of the things that we were forecasting.
Gotcha.
So I got hooked that way.
Nice.
So that was 2013. And one of my early actions and things that I got involved with was with regard to technology and trying to create a more sustainable product. And so I identified a website designer who could offer a lot of the capabilities that we currently have. And so that was very rewarding to see that happen.
Was there a website at all at that time?
There was a very kind of static website, which was providing information only.
Okay.
Kind of like what we were attempting to do. But there's no way to really engage with the audience.
Gotcha.
And we discovered through this technology that I accessed that we had all kinds of capability around database management, which would also not only help in communicating to the public what we were trying to do and how we were trying to serve the community, but also to use in our day-to-day operations of trying to help people find the resources that they were looking for. So it was kind of catapulted us into a completely different quality of service than we had historically been able to do. So that was a very exciting time.
We really needed that too.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine working without those tools right now.
Absolutely. And it was fun for me as a volunteer to be learning and developing something new. And I know one of the things that you would love for me to talk about is why I volunteer and how that might impact other people who are considering volunteering.
Yes.
And one of the things I learned about myself in my volunteer work, both historically and in that situation, was that I love to create things and I love to problem solve. And so that was a real turn on for me, was to be able to join an organization that had a need but didn't know necessarily how to fulfill the need.
Sure.
And that enabled me and gave me the opportunity to research and find talent and solutions to the situation that we were in. So for me as a volunteer, that was one of the things I was looking for.
That is really cool. So it came out of your desire for creativity and problem solving that you were able to fill that need.
And one of the things I thought about in preparation for this conversation was a value for me in volunteering was liberty.
Okay. Explain that.
I like autonomy. I like being free to kind of solve problems and I feel like I have a good mind and a good process for trying to achieve whatever the end is. And so I don't know, it just speaks to me that I really like to take something on and come up with a solution that really works. My first volunteer opportunity was in 2000. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, and
Did you?
I had my own consulting business.
Okay.
And I had worked for many years in human resource development, organization development. And I was in a situation where I didn't need to work, and I thought, I don't know why I felt drawn to just do something more meaningful.
Yeah.
And so I went on about a research process to try and figure out, well, where is it that I would like to volunteer? So for your audience, I would say this is a good place to start, is to sort of ask yourself, what is it that excites me? What is it that utilizes my skills and talents in a way that is meaningful to me, adds value to me, and obviously serves a purpose? So there was a national online search product called Volunteer Match that is nationwide. And so I just went on there, found out, and went on there and just started to get sort of opportunities presented to me. And I could go, yeah, no.
Yeah.
But something kept popping up. So I almost thought it was destiny, that I ended up volunteering with this organization called Stand Up for Kids. And it was an organization, it was an outreach program for homeless and street youth in Atlanta, Georgia. And my motive at the time was I just want to get my hands dirty. I want to engage with people. In fact, it's funny because I said I don't want to lead anything, manage anything, coordinate anything, because that's what I'd done in my career. I wanted a complete change.
Did that end up happening then?
No.
I was like, usually that ends up happening. It's like you don't want to do something. And...
Well, what happened to me was after about 6 months, the organization was kind of in a leadership crisis.
Okay.
And I'd really enjoyed getting acquainted, and I basically was going out in the community and trying to develop relationships with the community, which I absolutely loved, and also to serve the kids that we were finding and helping. And it turned out that I had to ask myself, if you really want to serve, is it right for you to do what you want to do or what the need is?
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's a dilemma that anybody who's looking to volunteer is asking themselves: should I serve myself and do what feels good to me, or do I respond to the needs of the community? And one of my roles in the organization was to recruit volunteers, because we were an all-volunteer organization.
Okay.
And so, my background was in recruiting, so that process was very familiar to me. And so basically when people were coming to me and responding to recruitment efforts that I was making to volunteer, it became really apparent to me over time that it's really important for people to find something that really calls them.
Would you say that could be like a passion that they have?
Passion might be a little strong for some people, but that's one way that you could look at it. But something that provides meaning to you, something that will cause you to get up in the morning and want to go and do that thing. Yeah. Because what I discovered, and this was new to me as in working with volunteers, because I'd always worked with employees who you have, some control over, is that if they were inspired in a moment, it probably wasn't going to be sustainable.
Okay.
Right? Because some people respond to, for whatever, many reasons, they say, I gotta volunteer. I gotta do something.
Like it's an emotion or feeling that just kind of comes and goes. Maybe.
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of people would, sit down with me, and I would ask them what their motivation was and whatever. And I could tell right away that this wasn't going to be a long-standing commitment.
Yeah.
And because of the work I was doing at that time involved kids, I was very anxious about people committing and then not following through.
Yeah, because when it involves children, you're going to have a lot of emotional ties with those children that could affect them long term.
Well, these kids in particular have been disappointed their whole lives.
Yeah.
No relationship was ever reliable.
Stable. Yeah.
And so I didn't want to compound that by bringing volunteers into their lives who weren't committed. So
Wow.
it became really important
Did
to me.
you end up having like a radar where you could kind of see if somebody was
I
all
hate to
in?
admit this, but I started out very naive
Okay.
and optimistic. Like, everybody has the same level of commitment that I do. Everybody does what they say they're going to do, and who wouldn't show up?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And over time, I hate this, but I started to get very cynical.
Yeah. A little jaded.
I
Maybe
was.
jaded.
I hated
Yeah.
that because I always like to think the best of people. And I
Yeah.
always think, I think this is wonderful that this person really wants to do all this. And then after many disappointments, I would start to get kind of like, are you for real?
Yeah.
So I tried to, that was a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have
anyway.
so much experience in volunteering that I didn't even know about, which is really cool. I mean,
Yeah. It's a passion of mine to inspire other people to, because I get so much out of it. I mean, anybody who volunteers would be quick to say that I'm the winner here.
Yeah.
Not only because I'm getting to serve and I get the reward for that, that intrinsic feel good for giving back, but one of the unexpected consequences of volunteering was all the cool people that you get to do it with, because they're also inspirational.
Well, they're
and
like-minded too,
And in this work I was doing, particularly with homeless and street youth, a lot of our volunteers were young people.
Really?
Yeah. And I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of the middle-aged mom, who kind of came late to the party. And all of these young people, whether they were high school, college aged, or just, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and they really cared about these kids. And it just was so inspiring to me that these young people cared and were dedicated and would give their time.
I think that's awesome.
During the busiest times of their lives.
Yeah. That is too cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I know that you and Stacy, which was one of the volunteers that we had here, and she still volunteers for us, but you guys kind of became the catalyst for the Volunteer Connect platform that we have now online. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of give me a rundown on how that whole process unfolded?
Yeah. This was Volunteer Connect. What is now Volunteer Connect started as in 2016, we started to gather with other nonprofits in the community. And that was the very beginning of our service provider information network.
Okay.
Was the catalyst of this was a community-wide symposium that brought everybody together, and we were hoping to get maybe 25 of our potential partners to sit down with us and talk about how can we work together and how can we optimize resources by working more collaboratively.
Yeah.
And we ended up with 100
Wow.
people attending this symposium. It was wild. And one of the things that some of the feedback that we got through that process of conversing with our partners
Sure.
and other community members was what ways can we work together and create something more and better by doing it together synergistically.
Okay.
And so one of the ways that we discovered was, this whole idea of volunteer recruitment and volunteer management, so that each of the nonprofits which relied on volunteers to do heavy lifting in their organizations just because of limited resources.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the seed was, I think we're in a good position to try and have impact in that.
Yeah.
And because I presented this at this symposium, there was somebody in the audience, Mark Tucker from United Way of North Idaho.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He was in the audience when I was pitching this idea that wouldn't it be cool if we had this kind of central location for helping people find resources to volunteer, or places to volunteer. And he said, I think I can provide you with some support for that in the way of a person who could take that on, because I didn't have the bandwidth to add that to what I was already doing.
Sure.
So this was like, oh, so this can really happen. So that was actually the launch of what became Volunteer Idaho Panhandle, which some of your listeners may be familiar with that name because that's what we created initially.
Yeah.
And that was basically utilizing that volunteer match program to kind of feed into our local needs.
Okay.
So try and coach people to use that and help people kind of use that resource. So that's how we initially started, in addition to some other pieces. So that was the beginning of it. And then as we worked through a couple of years of that, we discovered that the volunteer match program had some limitations that didn't serve us in the best possible way. And our web designer, who had been doing all this work with us for all these years, said, we can create that internally.
Yeah.
And so we didn't realize that was
possible,
and that she would be willing to design it.
Yeah.
So that's what created the Volunteer Connect, was us working together. And I'll tell you, all of those couple of years where we were kind of doing some other things, we learned a lot.
I bet.
About what we needed and what worked and what didn't work, what we didn't like about Volunteer Match that we would change if we were going to build it in-house. And so now what we have is this tremendous asset in the community, which allows organizations to broadcast their needs to the community, and for people who are in the community looking to give their time, talent, and treasure to something, to basically shop for those kinds of things that they might be looking for, and to do it, from their home and without any commitment other than, shopping for possibilities and then discovering which one they want to pursue and making it easy for them to do that, making it easy for them to find out all the information they need to make a good choice. And then obviously having you as the coordinator some people like to do things on their own.
Yeah, you kind of get a feel for,
right. They say, no, I got this.
Yeah.
And then you have other people who need a little bit more hand-holding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they would like a little bit more coaching and assistance and whatever, and more information that might be available online. And so that's the service that we were hoping to offer people, is to say, whatever you need, we're all about making it easy for you to connect with whatever it is. And when we started it, it was a selfish thing because we needed volunteers. We were an all-volunteer organization at the time. So selfishly, we were having trouble recruiting people. And so this benefited our organization directly. But as the people kept rolling in, saying, I'd like to volunteer, and I discovered, I'm not sure this is really what you would like to do. So let me help you find other things. And because I was knowledgeable about all the other nonprofits in the community, I could say, well, how about this or this or this, after interviewing them and exposing really maybe their motivations.
Yeah.
And I would say, this isn't right for you, but maybe this is
here.
How have you considered this? And then helping connect them that way. So that was kind of the inspiration for how we became kind of the hub.
I love it. It's such a great program. And I think one thing I like about it so much is it's local. And you don't have to weed through all the other stuff. There's no commitment to it or anything like that. You can, like you said, you can shop around. If you find out you don't really fit with this one organization, that's okay. There's no commitment. Go somewhere else and see where, the need needs to be met that you can fill. I think that's great. I think you guys have done such an awesome job. It's such a good platform. I'm so happy that you did it.
No, I am too. And I think the organizations benefit because it's optimistic and naive to think that people are going to find you and your opportunity.
Yeah.
And especially, we have a lot of new people coming into the community.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they don't know where to turn. And so that is providing a service to the organization to say, let us put your organization and your opportunity in front of all those people who may, what you're offering them may be exactly what they're looking for.
Sure.
And they're not going to find you.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Unless you're out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's up to us to market it to the public to say, if you're in this situation where you're looking, this is where you need to come. And you don't, and organizations don't want to miss out on that as well.
I think that's a big thing that nonprofits deal with is trying to get volunteers. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And finding volunteers that fit, that really have a passion for what they're trying to do. So Volunteer Connect is kind of the answer to that. So I also want to kind of get into the Idaho Classic.
Yes.
Which is something incredible. I got to experience it for the first time last year. I think it was our first one, wasn't it?
First annual.
And you did a lot of the legwork for that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us exactly what the Idaho Classic is and then what kind of opportunities might come about from it that we need to fill?
The Idaho Classic is a golf tournament fundraiser. The Community Resource and Vision Center was needing a kind of flagship fundraiser to raise more than just a few dollars. And golf tournaments are known to be, good money makers. And we have a very generous club owner, Bill Haberman, who offered the golf golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Idaho Club. And so everything that we get from the tournament goes directly into the resource center.
Yeah.
So that was a no-brainer. So basically it's one day. It's the Monday after Father's Day. I believe it is June 20th in 2022. And it takes an army of volunteers to run a golf tournament. In fact, it was really cool because it was our first. We were able to rally quite a number of people who were interested in helping. And we got tremendous feedback from the participants, the golfers, and just about how well run it was and how easy it was to participate and fun and all of those things. We actually sold out the tournament. The tournament was in June, and we sold it out in March.
Yeah, that's right. I remember it going really quick. Like the tickets went super quick.
So, and the sponsorships kind of came in that supported it. So we were amazed at, first of all, the generosity in the community, which I don't know why I'm amazed because it's just proven over and over that that's who we are as a community. So it was great fun, and I think people enjoyed volunteering too.
That's the vibe I got too, is people really liked doing
One
it.
of the things that I learned also in working with volunteers and recruiting volunteers is some people are just looking for kind of a one and done kind of experience.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about Volunteer Connect, the way we built it, is you can filter, you can look at opportunities and focus on things that are important to you in volunteering. And one of them might be time.
Right.
How much time do I have to give? And a lot of times people don't sort of hesitate to put themselves out there as a potential volunteer because they're afraid of overcommitting.
Sure. Yeah.
And getting dragged into things that they don't really want to do. And that whole guilt thing, and it just sort of seems to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the cool things about Volunteer Connect, and in specific this Idaho Classic, is it's a one day. You can sign up for the day. There's no other commitment beyond that, and it's a way to get your feet wet, with an organization.
Sure.
Without finding yourself strapped to something that you don't really. More than you wanted to do. So the Idaho Classic is basically a one-day event. Show up for the day, and we'll put you to work doing a variety of different things. We also have a planning team. So if you're interested in, getting involved earlier and doing part of the planning, that can be really fun. And the fun part about that is you're working closely with a smaller group of people to create an experience that you can feel really proud of.
Yeah.
And of course, bottom line is you're generating very needed funds for a very important cause.
Exactly.
So,
and it was hard to pass up because you're out at the Idaho Golf Club, and it was a nice
It was
day.
a beautiful day. You're outside with people having a great time, and you're feeling good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask you not only about the volunteers for this event, but how can businesses get involved? Like, how can they sponsor you?
We have a whole menu of opportunities, from very small ways to contribute to larger ones, and the larger ones have some really great value in terms of marketing and publicity. And what organization, what business doesn't want to be associated with the EnVision Center and all the good stuff that's happening here? So you want to tie your name to great community service and being a part of solutions in the community and making life better for everyone in the community. So, there's, you can sponsor a hole, you can sponsor our dinner, you can provide stuff for the silent auction. Which was a huge...
That was cool.
A huge undertaking and a huge success. And, it's just a good time.
Fantastic. So, you were just a font of information. I'm just so glad we had you here. Is there anything else that you want to tell our audience? Is kind of a takeaway or like your little shout out of the day that you would like to tell everybody listening?
I think that, I'm going to steal from Lennis, who is the executive director. And she just shared with me her vision for this year, her buzz. She has always a catchphrase for the year. And I think hers was, there is no opportunity without unity, or community without unity.
Yeah.
And I think that we're all in this together, and we all love this tremendous place that we live in, and that if we can make it better for everyone by giving a little bit more of ourselves, then I think that's a good thing. And I believe in the generosity of people, and I view the Volunteer Connect and the work that the Resource Center is doing as a way to facilitate people's generosity.
Yeah.
I believe that people just inherently want to give. They just don't know how.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it becomes kind of a barrier to giving. And so that's what we're all about, right? We're just trying to remove the barriers for people to do what they want to do.
Yeah. That was fantastic. So, yeah, if you're looking for a way to get involved with our community, you can sign up for Volunteer Connect. It's going to be at crecidaho.com/get-connected, and you can sign up as a volunteer and kind of shop around and see what kind of opportunities are out there. And then if you're a organization, you can sign up and post opportunities that you are looking for assistance or extra hand with. And I'm always here to help. So if you have any issues or difficulties, you can always call me for any guidance. I'd be more than happy to reach out and kind of help you. And we just can't thank you enough, Becca, for just being so involved in our organization, especially as a executive board member, and just everything you've done for us, and just for kind of giving us some more insight into how Volunteer Connect got started. And yeah, we just look forward to the future and everything it has to hold. So
it is my pleasure.
Awesome. And as always, we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecidaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will see you again soon.